Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and I apologize if my voice might sound a little bit rough. This is the third video in a row that I'm actually recording the audio for, trying to get a little bit of a build-up of content so that if I run into a situation like I did over these last couple of weeks at the time of recording, I can have something to put up so I don't end up in another drought. And even though this is the third video I'm recording, this is probably going to be the first one that I actually put up. Because today we're discussing something topical, something recent, something that has been on the minds and lips of quite a few people. We're discussing Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which has recently been proclaimed by, I believe it was, Polygon magazine to be the single greatest... They're the single biggest, I believe, single biggest and best D&D book in a generation. Which, of course, is fucking bullshit. But, here's the thing. I'm not really talking about Von Richten's Guide here. I want to talk about why it is books like Von Richten's Guide, books like Tasha's, and decisions like those that are so heavily disagreed with by people like myself, by older players, by even some younger, newer players who are more interested in things like the OSR, disagree with. Why these things keep happening at Wizards of the Coast. And as you might expect, I'm going to point a little bit of a blaming finger, just a little bit of one, but not at the party that you will be expecting. I'm sure based on content I've made here in the past, a lot of you are expecting that I am going to point the blame and say it's the fault of the woke skulls, it's the fault of the critical race theorists that have wormed their way into popular culture mediums, into video games, movies, comics, and damn near everything else at this point. And yes, there is absolutely blame to be placed there, but I do not think the majority of the fault lies with them. No. I don't think that. Because ultimately what these people are doing is they are taking advantage of a situation that has been presented to them. They snuck in, they started making changes, they started pushing things into a direction that a great many of us do not like, a great many of us at the very least roll our eyes at and find very cringy. And elements of Von Richten's Guide, which I'm not going to bother getting into, there are more than enough people in there getting into the different elements of Von Richten's Guide that they don't like. I don't need to add to that bonfire. The elements of Von Richten's Guide that a lot of people are not happy with, these types of people are the reasons why those are getting in there. But Von Richten's Guide is just a symptom of the problem. It's not the problem itself. Tasha's Chamber Pot of Excrement is not the problem itself. None of the 5e books are the problem itself. Even WotC isn't the problem itself. The people pushing this for this nonsense from the inside are the problem. In part. The other part of the problem are people like me. People like me who do not like this kind of content in our tabletop games. People like me who actively complain about it. People like me who look at some of the decisions being made and scratch our heads and think, Wizards, what on earth are you doing? Now, I want to make something clear. My friend, the OG GM, my new friend, and I think it's fair enough to say that, you know, he and I can call ourselves, at least to a degree, friends. he has been making a point in the many videos on Von Richten's that he has now done, because the topic keeps getting dropped into his lap. Every time he makes a video, somebody else brings up some other crazy point and like screeches at him about something, and then he makes another video on it. As I mentioned to him in the third or fourth one he did, it's the gift that keeps on giving, even when he doesn't want it to. I agree with him in one respect, that when it comes to this kind of stuff, as frustrated as I am with Wizards for doing this, and as heated as I can and have gotten in venting my frustration, I am not angry at Wizards for these things happening. I think that they think these are good ideas. And like he says, I agree that on paper they probably do seem like good ideas to them, but in practice we see very much the opposite. And we can tell that is the case by the confused state that 5th edition is in right now. To put it simply, when Tasha's was released, it was effectively said in, not so few words, that what they were doing with Tasha's would now be the new baseline going forward, and that included mechanically. And yet, all the unearthed arcana, and from all appearances Von Richten's guide as well, that has come after Tasha's, and I believe there was also Candlekeep. Yeah, the Candlekeep book, again, after Tasha's, are not holding to those same standards that Wizards said were going to be set by Tasha's. Which is leaving 5th edition in a very confused place. And that's not even touching on other things like legacy labeling, actively changing the written text in the earlier published books, which resulted in the legacy labeling, and all the other crazy nonsense. A minor correction to this portion that I recorded last night. It seems that now that Von Richten's guide has been fully released, we were able to see that Wizards of the Coast has in fact adhered to at least one of the standards that they put forth in Tasha's Chamber Pot of Excrement, and that is the fact that the new playable races have no assigned stat bonuses whatsoever. I personally think this is incredibly stupid, but then again, like I said, this is not meant to be a review for Von Richten's guide in any manner, and nor do I intend to review Von Richten's guide in any manner. If you would like a good, in-depth review of Von Richten's guide, I highly recommend heading over to Grim Jim's channel and checking out his review of the book. It is very well thought out, very in-depth, and well worth your time. And now then, back to the video at hand. The woke scolds may have been the ones to push these things forward. They may be the ones that continue pushing these things forward. And in that, they share no small portion of the blame for the sorry state, at least in my opinion, sorry state that 5th edition is in. The undesirable state that it is in. But I think a much greater portion of the fault falls to, as I said, people like myself, who do not like these changes, who will oftentimes actively speak out against these changes, who will get very, very frustrated with the fact that Wizards of the Coast will listen to people like the woke scolds within their company, or like people on Twitter who actively admit when challenged on the stupid things they say that they do not pay for the game. They don't buy the game, they don't play the game. They have no involvement in the game other than the fact that they know it's a pop culture phenomenon and they want to rail against something in whatever weak way they can. We voice our frustrations sometimes in ways that are not very constructive, sometimes in ways that attempt to be constructive. Even in my deepest sense of frustration, even when I recorded my Wizards of the Coast are Cowards videos, where I was extremely frustrated and venting a lot of frustration, I still tried to bring up constructive points, things that we can do to show Wizards that we're not happy with the direction that they're taking. things that Wizards could do to improve their relationship with a sizable portion of the market that probably would come back to them if only they would start making the kind of stuff that would bring us back. And it doesn't have to be major sweeping changes or anything like that either. Just cut out the modern party politics crap. Cut out the modern social politics that no one asked for. The pandering that nobody outside of this echo chamber Seattle bubble really likes. Or San Francisco bubble, Chicago, New York, LA, really most of California. Have I mentioned that I hate living in California? I digress. The point is, we've rambled, we've raged, we've tried to be constructive, we've tried all of these things, and it hasn't worked. But there's a big difference between myself and the people like myself that I am calling out here for this. There is one very key difference. I'm gonna audibly play this difference for you right now. Did you hear that? Let me do that again. One more time for emphasis. That sound, I don't know if you can hear this, but this tapping, this sound you hear in my hand, this is my wallet that I am holding. This clap is me closing my wallet, which I did to Wizards years ago. After Volo's Guide came out, when I started seeing the course that the game was taking, before Tasha's was even announced, well before Tasha's was even announced, I started seeing the kind of course that the game was taking. I was not happy with that course. I saw the wokeness starting to encroach in a much bigger way, becoming more overt, becoming much more frustrating, annoying, and just wholly unpleasant. I saw the vitriolic nature of the hobby surrounding 5th edition in particular growing worse and worse. And I said, and I even said this actually in my Wizards of the Coast are Cowards trilogy, in the last video. I said, and I have stuck to this, that I am not buying another Wizards of the Coast product until they change their ways. Until they start producing something I can get behind. I will not spend any more money on their products. It has been at least 3 years. No. Almost 4 years, I think, since I last purchased a Wizards of the Coast 5th edition product. And that was when I purchased the Player's Handbook a few years back for one of my oldest friends for his birthday. And then we played a game of 5th edition so I could show him the game, and he had a blast. You know, he had fun playing D&D again for the first time in probably about 15 years, since we were 20 at the time. Well, not quite 15 years. It would have been about 12. But for the first time in 12 years playing Dungeons & Dragons, he had a blast. But yeah, that's the last time I ever bought anything 5th edition. The only 5th edition books I own are the core rule books. The Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and the Monster Manual. I have not bought any of the other supplements. I have copies of them that I was gifted in PDF format, but I haven't bought any of them. Not since that second copy of the Player's Handbook. I have not bought a single Wizards of the Coast item. And yet, there are so many people like myself who are unhappy with the game, who are complaining all the time about the course Wizards is taking, who go on and on about how they hate the way they are changing old NPCs, they hate the pandering, they hate the ever more transparent wokeness. They cannot stand this stuff. And yet they keep paying for the products. When it comes time to nut up or shut up, they shut up, hand over the credit card and say, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" Because they are spineless. Because they are feckless. Do you hear me out there? All of you who are sitting there complaining about what Von Richten's guide has done to Ravenloft, which you love, but will buy it anyway because you just feel that compulsive need to complete your collection because you cannot bear to deal with that fear of missing out, because you keep telling yourself this is the last time, even though deep down you know you're lying to yourself. You are the reason this keeps happening. Because even though you complain about it, just like the types of people who sit there and complain about EA's bad practices in the video game industry, just like the kinds of people who will sit there and complain about all the wokeness that keeps getting shoved into PlayStation games now ever since Sony headquartered its quality assurance staff in Los Angeles, all of you people who will complain about all these types of things, yet you keep opening your wallets, you keep spending the money, you keep showing these companies you are willing to shell over your cash, your resources, your money to give them your greenbacks, despite the fact that you supposedly hate what they're doing. You hate what they're doing, yet you're still shelling out $40, $50, $60 to get your fix. Because you don't have a spine. Because you don't have an ounce of willpower. Because you're too weak to do this. Well, jellyfish, it's time to grow a spine. It's time to stop being weak. You don't like what Wizards has become? Don't support them financially. Do not buy Von Richten's guide if you don't like where the company is going. If you don't like the direction 5th edition has taken, do not support it financially. It is that easy. There are other games out there that are very popular. There are other games out there that do very similar things to 5th edition, many of them better. You want to run a 5th edition style game? Swing over to Drive-Thru-RPG and pick up 5e Hardcore mode. Hell, pick up Mork Borg. Pick up Dungeon Crawl Classics. Pick up damn near any OSR game that's based on Dungeons and Dragons. Hell, pick up an older edition of Dungeons and Dragons. You can find those available. Speak with your wallets, and Wizards will be more likely to listen to you. Because despite what the woke would have you think, despite what these spiteful little bastards in the company want us to believe, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro in and of themselves are not woke companies. They are only doing this because they think it will make them money. And as long as you continue to spend your money, even though you hate what they're doing, they're going to continue thinking that. Because fucking hell, you sure aren't not proving them wrong. Anyway, that's all I have to say today on this very spicy, but not as spicy as the original take, believe me. Nowhere near as spicy as the original take version of this video. That is my thought on who I personally think truly holds the lion's share of the blame for why Wizards of the Coast keeps on doing the stupid shit they're doing, and why it is that the woke scolds keep getting their way despite so many people speaking out against them. Because so many of you who speak out against them will not close your wallet. Stop spending money on games you don't like. Stop giving your money to people who hate you. That is all I have for today, friends and gamers of all stripes. Please give a like to the video if you like what I have to say. And hell, if you don't like it, leave a dislike. I don't really care. I know people don't like hearing the truth. And the fact is, this is the fucking truth. Companies respond to what pays. And if you stop paying, they will take notice. Comment down below with your thoughts, as spicy as I'm sure they probably are. Hate on me if you want to hate on me. I don't care. I really don't. Open up the description box down below to follow me on my social media presences. Mine.com in particular is the best place to follow me for backups. And yeah, I don't feel like giving the full plug on this one. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of point. So that's all I've got for you today, friends and gamers of all stripes. Once more, my name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen, and I would like to remind you all, in the world of tabletop gaming, you do not want to just sit back and watch. You want to get in there and play. Specifically, the kind of games you actually like. And better yet, support the games you actually like. And not the ones that you keep complaining about. And despite all the spice, I genuinely hope you have a good one. Take care.